Ladies and gentlemen, I would like for you to show some love to the Josephine Howell Band. Basically, I just said, play a little something for 15 minutes before the show, and they took it from there. And they are so good. I'm grateful that they're here. My name is Donnie Griffin, and I am the founding principal of the Lift Every Voice Legacy. And I want to welcome, thank you. I want to welcome you because you are the brave ones. You came on out, you said, I'm going to commemorate Dr. King, and I'm going to be safe, I'm going to be vaccinated, I'm going to wear my mask, but I'm going to be here tonight. Thank you. Actually, are you okay? Are you vaccinated?
Of course.
All right, I'm going to just move this. Our sound man, Joey, is in the back, and when we were practicing earlier, he said, Donnie, you going to wear that mask when you talk? And I said, no. He go, good, because the sound would be so much better. You're right, Joey. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are so excited about this evening and the journey that we are about to start. But most importantly, I have a friend here. She is a local artist. She is a martial arts instructor, so I'm on my best behavior. She also is a board member of the Lift Every Voice Legacy, Misha Carter.
Thank you, Donnie. Before we go on, though, I have a question for you. What's up with the boot? What happened?
The boot.
I did not kick him, I promise. I did not kick.
My wife is going to cringe at this, but while I was on a walk in October, a pothole jumped out of the ground and hit my foot. And I've been in this boot for, seems like 5 years.
Oh, wow.
I was hopeful to get it off Tuesday, but my doctor said, no, you got to put it in one more month.
Oh, you gotta listen to the doctor.
Oh, I love you. Thank you. Thank you for the moan. That's how I feel. So that's with the boot.
All right. We wish you the best with that. We're going to start off with a blessing that is going to bless the land that we are resting on. We have asked Laurel Boucher to humble us with a blessing. Please accept her. Laurel.
Ihaichka siamostimos. That's thank you very much, our beloved community people, honorable people in our Samish language. And we thank each and every one for being here. I'd like to start with a blessing song from our 1910 Indian Shaker Church. And not to be confused with the Ann Lee Shaker on the East Coast. This is exclusively here, 1910 Indian Shaker. Masi, to Twoxnansman, Satanan, Sata Santus Play, Clo Masi Stas, to Twoxnansman, Satanan, Sata Santus Play, Clo Masi Stas, to Twoxnansman, Satanan, Sata Santus Play, Clo Masi Stas. Hi, Masi Jesus. 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 Oh, thanks and praise to our Creator. Si Celsium, Ha Ha Shaksiab. We give thanks and praise to be here in this home today. Pray for a blessing upon this program here that's going to take place. Beautiful things are going to be taking place in this home. We pray that we'll take this beauty and sharing from our hearts, the guests here, the performers, everyone, that will create a love that we can send spiritually out to our hurting world, Lord, and pray that it'll help to heal the hurts, help to lift the fears, the sickness, and all that's taking place in our world. Each one will receive a blessing for being here, and blessings that we can carry and share with others when we leave this home tonight. Merci. To twelks nans man, say to nan, say to santus play. Clo merci stath. To twelks nans man, say to nan, say to santus play. Clo merci stath. To twelks nans man, say to nan, say to santus play. Clo merci stath. Merci. So, dear ones, we prayed to the Creator, the great mystery. And so I'd also like to acknowledge and give respect to the homeland of the Snohomish that we're on right here. This is the homeland of the Snohomish, also known as the Snohomish. And the Snohomish is the traditional name of the first people in this land right here where we're standing, where we are right now. So I'd like to sing this song that comes from the Snohomish, from the Snohomish. This is the traditional song that comes from my customarily adopted family at Tulalip, my grandma Ivy Gus. This is a song from her family. She's Snohomish, and she's not with us anymore, but she at first was a little hesitant to pass the song on, but she eventually did. So this is the King Salmon song, Yo Bach. Yo Bach Tia Chada, Yo Bach Tia Chada, Yo Bach Tia Chada, Yo Bach Tia Chada. And with this, dear ones, beloved ones, we'd like to share with you in the theme of this program tonight is I can help somebody. And all of you tonight, you can help our people from here, our tribal people, our first people from this land here. We can learn this one word in the sign language. And it's just this. You lift your hands and you lift them not down like this, but up high like this. And when we do this, we're thanking, we're welcoming, we're lifting each other up. That's the meaning of that. Many people here, you might have seen our people do this. That's the meaning. There's other meanings to it. But because we are going to help our first people in this area with learning something that is from our people here, and this is something that you can carry on, keep it going, keep alive, is to learn this one word in our language. and it's helping to keep our language going. Ihaichka, thank you, dear ones.
That was fantastic. Thank you all for being here, and welcome to a tribute to Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, inspiring a beloved community in song, spoken word, and dance. We believe in a life that is free of hatred, injustice, and poverty. By the conclusion of this evening's program, it is our desire that you'll want to join us. Fact is, we've already started today with a vaccination clinic at the Edmonds Waterfront Center. How many people did we have come to that, Donnie?
You know, when I was there earlier this morning, there was at least 100 people ready to get their shots at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Right, awesome. Doing the work. Thanks to the Levi Morning Program team for your great efforts this morning, and we will expect to hear more from you in the coming weeks with a program for children and families. Out of an abundance of caution, we had to postpone some activities this morning, specifically the ones that were children-related. I was actually going to teach them some self-defense, and they weren't going to hurt any of you, but we're going to get into that sometime this year. We just don't know when. So we're going to come up with something a little later on for everyone later on this year.
And to that point, you will see cameras, video cameras, camera operators moving about. And that's because for those who opted not to come, and we are blessed by that decision as well, we are going to create this program live on a videotape live, and then have it available on our website in a couple of weeks. So more to share with you later on that. Now to get into our program, this is so recent that I picked up this column. I was reading a column by New York Times columnist David Brooks. And he was really dealing with this notion of what's happening to the American humanity. And it wasn't a very good note that he left it on. And I've heard so many other comments around what's happening to our country, what's happening to our neighbors, what's happening to our cities. And people are in this very pessimistic way. In fact, one of the things that Brooks mentioned in this column, and this, I only read this a couple days ago, he said that less people were driving in 2020 than in the previous year in the middle of the pandemic, but there were 13% higher deaths. And then he went on to talk about all the fighting and fussing that's going on in airplanes. And then the increase in drug overdose. And he says we're in this long-term loss of solidarity and long-term rise in estrangement and hostility. My belief is that that's not where we are today. I'm not going to buy that. I'm not going to hold that. I'm not going to embrace that. And my hope is that many of you are here today because you are not going to do that either. I believe that Dr. King, who was our superhero, I can't see him in a cape, but I'll put him in one, that he has in the 60s and in the 70s given us the prescription against the estrangement and the hostility. He's provided us with an inoculation against a pandemic of mental fatigue and social ambivalence. Dr. King invites us to serve somebody. The new definition of greatness, those are his words, that just to serve somebody will bring us out of this malaise. Then he was talking about it, but it fits for us today. And that's the path that we want to take you on in the journey tonight.
Right. Thank you, Donnie. Just also please remember to be compassionate to yourself and to others. Starting us at the trailhead of this journey, moving forward, our theologian in residence, Dr. Brian Bantam.
Good evening, everyone. It is so good to see you. My name is Dr. Brian Bantam. I am a professor of theology. Before you get too nervous, everyone gets a little nervous when I say that in Seattle. I think about what it means to be human. And Dr. King is a person who has taught me a lot about what it means to be human, about what it means to love. And as we begin our evening together, it's my job here simply to begin to frame our time, to think about who he is, and more importantly, for us to begin to answer the question, who will we be? And so oftentimes with people who become granite statues, people whose words become slogans like, I have a dream, our own possibilities, the work that we have within our hands to do something can oftentimes, ironically, get farther and farther away because we feel like we are not as great as they are. That we do not have the insight or the oratory skills or the courage like a Dr. King. But in fact, is it possible that the bigger the slogan, the bigger the statue, that in fact we get farther and farther away from the man? Dare I say it, that we get farther and farther away from the miracles of the everyday. And maybe even more amazingly, we get farther and farther away from the truth that is wonderful and amazing as Martin Luther King Jr. was. He was also just a man, the product of a community, the product of people whose courage and love were sown into him so that he might have a dream. And so as we begin to kind of move through our evening together, I want to encourage you to think not simply of the man as a symbol, the man as hyper courageous, as having anything more than any of us have in this room. But I want you to begin to imagine the faces and love and the people that sowed into him, that taught him. And people like his father, Martin Luther King Sr., the pastor at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where as a young child, King saw his father marching, his father boycotting, his father organizing for the sake of his community. When Martin Luther King got his first job in Montgomery, Alabama, we began to see the kind of roiling that's happening. And Rosa Parks sits on that bus. I want you to be reminded of the fact that she was not an old woman, tired from a hard day's work. She says, I was not tired. In fact, I was not as old as some people suppose I am. She says, I was only 42. But she said, I was tired of giving in. But her tiredness of giving in wasn't just about not sitting, it was about years and years prior to that moment of organizing. Years and years of understanding how a system worked, understanding how that one catalytic movement could push over a series of dominoes to create something bigger. And our symbol rode the wave, played his part. It's never going to be the courage of one person. It is always going to be the collective courage of people who are willing to be introspective about their lives, about where they need to grow, the gifts that they have to offer, and their willingness to use them for the sake of making others more free, rather than enriching and making themselves more safe. So in the images that we look through this evening, whether they are on the screen behind us, whether they are in the songs that we hear, the songs that we will sing, the words that get shared, please, please, please hear and see the people that make those words possible. And know that with every single word, every single image that sits behind King, there is also the possibility that you might participate. That you too might be a conduit of justice, an avenue of love. That you might also join in the work of this one man, of his community, of his ancestors, so that we all might be more free, more loving, and more human. Welcome to the journey tonight.
If I can help somebody as I travel alone, if I can cheer somebody with the word of that song, if I can show somebody that they're traveling wrong, then my living will not be in vain. If I can do my duty as a Christian, Lord, if I can share salvation with the world what's wrong, if I can share the message that the Master taught, then my living will not be in vain. Then my living is not in vain. My living is not in vain if I can help somebody else. I travel along, then my living will not be in vain. If I can do my duty as a Christian, Lord, if I can share salvation with the world that was brought, if I can sing the message that the Master taught, then my living will not be
I was standing in Money, Mississippi, next to railroad tracks. And on the other side of the railroad tracks was this vast field. And behind me was a dilapidated store that many, many, many years prior, a young Emmett Till was falsely accused. As I looked out at the field, I could picture young Emmett running from the store across to where his uncle's house would have been, the same house where vigilantes would later pull him from and strap him to a van, beat and brutalize his body, sink him in the waters, only to have him surface and have his face grace the cover of magazines so that everyone would know the harm that was done. This storefront in Money, Mississippi wasn't too far away from the corner where Stokely Carmichael first said, "Black power for black people." Stokely Carmichael, who came up in the same civil rights movement of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., where I found myself in Montgomery, Alabama, standing outside the church that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. preached from, which stood in the shadow of the Capitol building, the same Capitol building that if you look down from the steps, you can see this beautiful fountain. But before it was a fountain, it was a trading block where slaves were to be sold. And if you walk down the street, you can find yourself going past warehouses that used to hold the bodies of black people who were enslaved. And you continue your journey, you will find yourself at a river where these black bodies enslaved would find themselves being forced up in chains into these warehouses up the street to be sold at that slave trading block, which now was a fountain. Across the street from this fountain is a bus stop, the same bus stop that Rosa Parks sat at when she got on the bus and expressed her fatigue. As Brian mentioned earlier, not of the day, but of the situation at hand. I found myself later in Memphis, Tennessee, where the sanitation worker strike happened. The same strike that brought Martin Luther King Jr. out to be a part of the protest. Because there was two men who were forced to ride on the back of the sanitation truck regardless of what the weather was, and ended up, as a result of a malfunction of that truck, being killed by that truck. Black sanitation workers weren't allowed to ride inside of the cab. And as Martin Luther King Jr. came to join that protest, we know what happened at the Lorraine Motel. And I continued my journey. I found myself at the footsteps of the courthouse in St. Louis, Missouri, where the Dred Scott case was heard. And not but a few miles away is Ferguson, where I stood in the very same place where Mike Brown's blood puddled, where his body laid in the St. Louis heat for hours, covered in a sheet, as an investigation into his murder brought no relief for a family who still grieves today. Dred Scott, Michael Brown, Martin Luther King Jr., Stokely Carmichael, Rosa Parks, Emmett Till, all needed somebody to help. Oh, just somebody to help. As a multiracial black man, I understand this plight well. I grew up in a household with two parents that suffer from mental health issues. My brother was incarcerated at the age of 13. My earliest memory of him is visiting him inside of one of these kid jails. He was locked up until he was a 21-year-old man. I got a sister who struggled with an addiction, another sister who ran away. For all intents and purposes, I should not be here in front of you today. The difference? See, somebody helped. I'm reminded of a story, a biblical account of a man who was beaten, bruised, and battered and left to the side of the road to die. Nobody knew what brought that man there. They just knew that man was there. And as he laid on the side of the road, people walked by and simply looked. A priest walked by, saw the man there, continued on the journey. Another religious man, a Levite, walked by, saw the man there, continued on the journey. And I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to be beaten, to be battered, to be bruised by a system of inequity, by a system of white supremacy, by the principles and practices embedded in a country that never really intended for you to be free. And once you begin to live into your liberty, they do everything they can to enslave you in practices and policies and procedures. And see, I know what it's like to be on the side of the road begging for help, for somebody just to acknowledge my humanity, acknowledge my existence, understand that I don't have boots for a bootstrap, and I just need somebody to see me, to understand the plight and the position that I'm in. Don't question how I got there, why I got there, when I got there. Just know that I am in need of help. But in our world today, we see the suffering and we question their reliance, their allegiance. We wonder which side of the divide they find themselves on. And if they carry an opinion contrary to the one that we bear, then we say, you know what, somebody else will stop. But not me this time. We just need somebody to help. In this account, there was a Samaritan who stopped, saw the suffering. What's unique to this is this Samaritan carried this man who was wounded, who we otherwise would have stood in juxtaposition to, because they were both from different perspectives, different allegiances. In fact, they had so much odds against one another, they would not find themselves in the same place at the same time. See, the Jews had such an issue with Samaritans that they would travel great distance to avoid even crossing their land and their territory. But the Samaritan only saw suffering. He saw someone who was marginalized because of the condition that they were in, and recognized that his own marginalized experience uniquely connected them, and he had to do something in response to that pain. So he picked that man up, brought him to an inn, assured that he would be cared for so he could be made whole. I'm telling you, we need somebody to help. George Floyd, Charlene Lyles, we need somebody to help.
For all of you that are able to, could you please stand?
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven
Can you tell it's me by the way I walk? One of the things that the LEVL Board of Directors decided to do was to look for people in our community who they don't necessarily look for the limelight. In fact, they almost avoid it because they're busy doing the work. And so we ask every year a number of folks to make nomination of those folks who are busy in the trenches, who are doing the work. And they come to us, we nominate them, and then the board votes on them. The LEVL board votes on them. And then I have the pleasure of telling them, calling them up and saying, you have been selected as a LEVL, Lift Every Voice Legacy Beloved Community Awardee. The reaction is always the same. It's, oh, no, not me. Or, listen, you need to give this award to somebody else. I got a name, why don't you give it to? And literally, I have to talk them into accepting the award. And then that's when I know that we selected the right person. We have 2 awardees today. And I'd like to start off with our very first awardee. And we have a little clip to introduce you to her.
My name is Leilani Miller, and I am the Executive Director of Millennium Ministries. Our tagline for Millennium Ministries is meeting needs, transforming lives. We all, at one time or another, need a hand up to the kind of life that most children should have. Our ministry is a faith-based ministry, so Jesus is always important to us. We have a housing team that helps to facilitate the housing for the families each month. And our food ministry over the years has grown from a few individuals, meaning seniors, to over probably about 2,000 to 3,000 individuals a year receiving food from our food pantries. And through meeting the needs, we see that there are a lot of lives that become transformed. It just makes all of the sacrifices that have to be made, it makes all of them worth it.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Assisting us in this beloved community award presentation is YWCA Community Coordinator, Sina Conte, and my friend. Come on out, Sina.
Hello, and thank you everybody for being here. I'm Sina Conte, as she said. I am here to introduce to you, I'm honored to introduce to you Miss Leilani Miller. I've known her for about 5 or 6 years now, and she has been so instrumental in the community when I first came here to Snohomish County. She's the director of Millennium Ministries, and what she did was she stepped out and helped me in the journey that I was on as I served with the YWCA. She's an author. She's, again, the executive director. She's run a lot of nonprofit organizations in California and then here. Being in the Northwest, she felt that she was called, and it's only evidence that she was called to serve the community here. So when I got here, I was able to also get alongside with her and serve the community that I serve with the YWCA. She's passionate, she's patient, she's uplifting, and she's not alone. There's a lot of leaders here, and she's one of the sparkles that I chose to nominate for this award. So I'd like to introduce you all to Leilani Miller.
am really, really humbled to be here tonight, and I thank you so, so much. It is such an honor to be recognized on a day that we celebrate a great man in history. And I just thank you so much. And I just pray and hope that I could live my life as Dr. King lived his life, just trying to help somebody. Thank you again.
Well, Ani, in addition to that memento, the Board of Directors of LEVL would like to make a contribution for your efforts to keep on keeping on. However you may want to use this check, you are welcome to do so, but we know you will use it to help somebody. We actually had a tie in our voting, and the second organization that we would like to honor, well, let me just show you a tape. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Let me show you a tape.
I've been volunteering at Concern for Neighbors Food Bank for about 6 years now. I myself started out on the other side of the line while I was getting food for me and my family. I asked one day, they need help, and they said yes. And I've been here ever since, man.
We want to be a welcoming place. We serve between 300 and 400 people a week, and it's all volunteer driven. Last March, we had a series of break-ins. So while it was a bit of a dark time for us, it was amazing what light came out of it and how our community and our neighbors rallied around us and made sure that we got back on our feet and could do the business that we were supposed to be doing.
It's really rewarding to help out your neighbors, your friends, people that you know. I enjoy giving back to people who helped me.
I want to express my thanks to receive this award as one of the volunteers here at Concern for Neighbors Food Bank.
Kudos to James Starlin Productions for producing that short tape for us in very short order, and I think they did a beautiful job. Is this you or me? Oh, it's me, okay. Let me introduce to you the person who would like to chat just a bit about our awardee. It's Mount Lake Terrace City Council member, Steve Woodard.
What an absolute honor it is to be here. Again, Steve Woodard, and I have the honor of serving as an elected official here in Mount Lake Terrace. I'm here today actually with our mayor, Kyoko Matsumoto Wright, who's in the audience there. I also have the honor of meeting this group that you're going to meet today, because I also serve now as the Vice President of Community Engagement for VOA Western Washington, Volunteers of America. And it's actually at that nexus of being a part of this beloved community that I got a chance to meet someone in our own city. So I wrote a couple of notes down because I was told never give a poet, a politician, and an educator an open mic, and you get all three with me. So I will just keep it simple and say our theme of if I can help somebody, I took that to heart a couple summers ago, and that's what led me on the path to this nomination. So without going too deep into this, just know that our goal was to bring a drive-through food pantry to Mount Lake Terrace, but to focus on who's already doing that incredible work. And the first group that came to mind was Concern for Neighbors. Some of our folks are here today, and you'll get to meet a couple of others. But just know that they have been doing this work for over 50 years. They just celebrated 50 years. Now, here's how you know we're a beloved community. I saw some young people in the crowd, and that 50 years, what is that? Let me put that in context for you. I was 1 year old when they started this. So I don't know what I look like to you right now. I was told I should take this off. that is really old age in front of you. That said, they have increased their service in our community by 25%. They've seen an increase in 25% since the pandemic started. But more importantly, they embody the true dream bigger. Yes, they have a physical location, but they also bring groceries to your home. More importantly, they have taken that one-stop shop concept, and they also try their best to connect you to dental, medical, as well as legal advice. I could go on forever, but it's better to go ahead and have them come out. It is my honor to introduce part of their network, and in particular their founder, Dick Gibson, and their current executive director, Mike Bigeman. Please come on out, gentlemen. It is my esteemed privilege to provide you with this award, and I'm going to read it. There you go. Lift Every Voice Legacy presents the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Beloved Community Award to Mount Lake Terrace Concern for Neighbors Food Bank, January 17th, 2022, Edmonds, Washington. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Steve, and Lift Every Voice Legacy for this wonderful award. I'd like to first actually introduce Dick Gibson here, Pastor Dick Gibson, who is the founder of the food bank. He started it in 1971, and 1971, 50 years ago. So there you go, and it's still going strong today.
Thank you. Thank you, and Mike is doing a good job. Steve, you were 1 year old, and it was a difficult time in Mount Lake Terrace because everybody, not everybody, but many people were out of work. And we said we have to feed our neighbors. We opened our Bible, and it says, you feed them. And so we started the food bank collecting food. We'll just do it for a month or two. Everybody will be back on their feet. And here we are, 50 years later. Thank you.
I would just want to share with you that the board of directors of the Lift Every Voice Legacy would like to give you this little check that would help in some small way to continue the work that you do in helping a lot of somebodies.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I just have a couple things to say, actually. The name of the food bank is Concern for Neighbors, and that's what we're all about, just neighbors helping neighbors. It takes a community to do the work we do, and without our local neighbors and businesses, the food bank wouldn't exist. Whether it's Denny and Beth in the audience here coming every week to help set up, get prepared, and then help with distribution. Whether it's Willie, who's here today as well, who works on his own during the week, going to the local grocery stores and picking up the donations. Whether it's neighbors dropping off paper bags, knitted hats, laundry soap, or snacks for kids. Or folks just stopping by to shovel when our latest snow dropped. Local businesses and schools doing food drives, then having the employees or students come and help load the truck with smiles on their faces and joy in their hearts. The Tuesday before Thanksgiving, a lady stopped by with this SUV, and it was full of turkeys and roasting pans with all the trimmings. As we unloaded, she was giddy with joy, and it was really infectious. Our busiest day of the year just got a huge lift, and it was a lot more fun as we were able to pass on her gift to all the others. In closing, it takes the whole community to do what we do, and in our area, we definitely have a blessed community. Thank you.
a hero. If you look inside your heart, you don't have to be ashamed of who you are. There's an answer if you reach into your soul, and the sorrow that you feel will melt away. And a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth that a hero lies in you. It's a long road when you face the world all alone. No one reaches out a hand for you to hold. You will find love when you look inside yourself, and the all that you feel will disappear. Then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth that a hero lies in you. Oh, Lord knows dreams are hard to follow, so don't let anyone take him away. Oh,
There's a hero that lies in you. So many moments throughout so many days, opportunities present themselves for you to give in that way, to consider the heart of those that are there to be served. Moments have passed us by where we simply observe. Consider the possibilities in our hands. If we submit to the path in front of us and see beyond life's demands and ask ourselves the question, if we are able, well, should we do what we can? There is a hero that lies in you. Over these past couple of years, I found myself in ebbs and flows of discouragement. I watched after the murder of George Floyd how people throughout our community flooded the streets in protest, who chanted Black Lives Matter, who believed that Black Lives mattered, who invested in organizations who were affirming that Black Lives Matter. CEOs across our nation released public statements emphasizing the investments they were going to make and the differences that were going to take place, because we now are aware and have come to a realization that Black Lives matter. And somehow, unsurprisingly, here we are in January of 2022. And if I quiet my spirit just enough, I can hear a faint echo from the summer of 2020 with the resonant sound of Black Lives Matter. But see, as the echo fades, I still find encouragement from the journey of ancestors past. As I steady both my feet on solid ground and inhale deep and exhale intentionality, I understand that the blood that runs through my vein is the blood of survivors. Those who successfully made it across the Middle Passage at the bottom of ships where they were simply left to die, and if they did survive, left to be put in chains and sold. How somehow they survived through the plantations to find their own way to freedom, only to be incarcerated again through the criminal legal system. To find ourselves exiting out of slavery and entering into chain gangs and vagrancy laws and many other barriers and restrictions that were put into place to continue to criminalize those who they never intended to be free. And still I stand encouraged, not because of what I've witnessed with my own eyes in the movement of man, but because I know there is a divine who always has its hand in the midst and in the presence of it all. See, it was that divine hand that guided the good Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., because there were so many moments on that journey that hope began to wax and wane. And even as he got to his last of days, his approval rating was so far below what many of us can even imagine that he wasn't even considered a leader in the eyes of dominant culture. He was considered a distraction. And as we praise him today, if we run the clock back to the time before he was murdered, we would not be here celebrating him in this manner. Well, some of us would be. But I'm encouraged. In spite of the many highs and lows and lows and highs, I'm encouraged. Because I believe there is a formula, as Donnie mentioned earlier. Something embedded in the DNA of the good doctor that left for us a way, a journey forward as we travel along this continuum towards justice. A more just way of being, a more just world of existing, a more just manner of engaging one another in our shared humanity. There is a way a way of service, a way of helping, a way of being there to support one another. The kind of help that shows up when you're transitioning and you're living unhoused and you need somebody who knows somebody to help you get into a place, to help you get groceries in that place, to help you get furniture in that place, and help you get clothing on your back. Everybody needs somebody. The kind of somebody that makes sure there's somebody at the food bank to give you the bagged groceries and to help you identify what's there for you to get so you can support your family for another week, because it's just enough to get by when it's so hard to get by. We all need somebody. Oh, I thank God for the many somebodies in my life. And any of us that are present today and are able to firmly plant our feet and inhale and exhale know that we've had somebodies in our life. I believe all of us are somebodies. And I believe those somebodies are the true heroes, not the ones with capes that fly in and fly out, but the ones that are dressed in flesh and adorned in humanity, that are perfectly imperfect, absolutely flawed, and yet drawn to serve their neighbor because there's a call from within that beckons us to be present for those who are in need. I believe that's each and every one of you. I think the opportunity is us surrendering to that call from within. Like the Samaritan that passed by and couldn't deny that there was somebody who was in need that needed a response. Answering that call from within. And if we continue to answer that call, it doesn't matter how grandiose the moment is. The submission to the moment is what continues to move us forward on this continuum as we journey towards justice. See, it's many small incremental moments that move us forward. There's many steps that go into joining a march, and not one of those steps are less significant than the one that came before. There's many small moments of micro affirmations that remind us of what's possible if we come together and unify as a nation, if we simply take one step forward. And I typically consider this vision of the scripture of mounting up on wings like eagles, but I'm going to leave you with another illustration. What if we were to mount up on the wings of a butterfly? The monarch butterfly is a unique creation in the midst of creation. It begins its journey in the southwest and migrates all the way up to the northeast. And to do so, it takes 3 generations. What's beautiful about this is each generation is born absent of GPS to tell them where it is that they're so supposed to go next. But embedded in the DNA is a call to go forward. Embedded in the DNA is a call to advance. Embedded in the DNA is something that simply tells them, if I just surrender to this thing that lives within me, I will get to where it is that I need to go. I think about the strength that it takes to travel that journey. You know, it's the strength that the butterfly has created once it breaks out of the cocoon that gives it the strength it needs to fly to its next destination. And sometimes we find ourselves in the midst of constraints and having a difficult time breaking through, and we don't understand that if we would break through, that breakthrough is what we need to be able to get to where it is that we are called to go, to serve where it is that we need to serve, to show up and be who it is we need to be for the person that we're being beckoned to. But as the butterfly breaks through and makes its way, first generation, second generation, third generation gets all the way to the northeast. And once it gets to the peak of its migration, the Methuselah generation is born, and it returns all the way back to where it started from, only to begin the cycle again. I share with you this story for a couple of reasons. Number one, I think too often we get preoccupied with which leg of the journey that we're on. We want to be the one to see the thing, to make it to the thing, to have that grandiose moment of arrival. But if we simply just submitted to the call that lived within us, we would get to where it is we need to go, and those who are to come next would be able to advance as well. But I also share with you this story because something else is powerful here. Because the cycle doesn't end. But if we do it well, and we do it together, we survive. No matter how many times we find ourselves back at a place that feels familiar, no matter how many times I read the paper and I see something that sounds like something that could have happened 50, 60 years ago, no matter how many times I say words that sound like words that are echoed from my ancestors' past, I know that if we travel with intentionality and we go where it is that we're called to go, we advance on this journey towards justice. And to do so, we need you, our heroes, those who choose to answer the call from within, to help somebody.
Before I get to some acknowledgments and some thanks, been thinking about that monarch butterfly story and the ingrained DNA. I've seen a little of that every time there's a catastrophe in our community. When there's a tornado that wipes out an entire town, or a flood that just sort of washes folks' homes away. And what happens is that other people, other citizens, other folks from all over the country get together and they go to where that disaster is to help somebody. I think that Dr. King was trying to say is that it is already a part of our DNA. And when he made that sermon, it was the last sermon he gave in his father's church, February 4th, 1968. He said, when I go, don't talk about how many honorary degrees I have. He said, don't talk about the fact that I have a Nobel Peace Prize. Don't talk about all the places in the world where I have talked and have given speeches. He said, if you would just say that I tried to help somebody as I pass along, then my life will not have been in vain. And I want to tell you that that is a goal. In a pandemic, that's the goal. In an epidemic, that's a goal. In any kind of a fall down, when I trip over the pothole and somebody rushes that I don't know to help me up, that's the goal. It's in our DNA like the monarch butterfly. All we have to do is help somebody. And if I should pass away tomorrow, I hope that would be something that you remember me by. And I need some help sometimes because I get caught up in the same things that we all get caught up in. Television and the soundbite intelligence of the newspapers and all of the stuff that gets you all riled up. But if I could just help somebody today, I'd feel so much better. Now I'm back on script. I want to really tell you that we have two fantastic sponsors. You don't know this, but it takes a lot of time and energy to put this together. I do it out of a passion of love for the humanity that Dr. King reminds me and reminds us of to stay close to. And two of our great sponsors, the Hazel Miller Foundation and the Community Foundation of Snohomish County, and I know some of their board members are here today. I just want to say thank you for your support, and I appreciate the fact that you have done so much to help Lift Every Voice Legacy do this program. So would you show them some love? We also have presenting sponsors, folks who I've also leaned on, and you'll find them in your patron programs there, and we'll be rolling them on the screen later. And we also have a group that's called our Legacy Builders. Those are folks who have just come alongside me at the right time to say, help, I'm gonna help you. Every year I do this, when I'm done, I say, I'm not doing this again. And somebody comes up to me and say, well, why not? What do you need? You need some money, you need some time, you need some talent. What do you need? Tell me what you need, because you got to go. I just enjoy this so much. And you know who one of those people are that did that for me a year and a half ago? She happens to be standing next to me, Arwen Valdez. She didn't know I was going to say that because I didn't write that in the script. But there was a time I said, during the pandemic, I said, I just don't know if I'm going to do this. I'm going through this low-grade depression. I just don't know. And she says, well, Donnie, we can do it. We can do a video, and I'll just video that. There must be some people we can call, and I'll just help them. You just tell me what you need. You want a poster? I can do that sort of work. And so I roped her for almost 2 years now, and I am very, very grateful to you for all the help that you provided me and the encouragement. Thank you very much. There's just one more gentleman out there I want to call out because he saw the work that I did in Seattle. And he said, Donnie, I see what you've done in helping create the Seattle Prayer Breakfast. Which, by the way, was a great program this morning at 7 o'clock. So some of y'all caught that. Ooh, man, that was on fire at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was a great breakfast. But he said to me, great work you're doing in Seattle. He says, but there's one thing I don't get. I said, what's that? He says, you live in Edmonds. And I said, well, I know that. He says, yeah, well, you need to do something like that in Edmonds. And ever since he said that to me, this man will write a check and say, what do you need? Who do you need to call? And I just need to acknowledge him. He's in the audience. His name is Steve Shelton. And Steve, if you would just raise your hand. Steve is also a major force in helping this facility come to being and being financed through a number of ways. He's had a leadership role in that, and I'm very happy, Steve, to have you as my friend. Well, we've had a great program. I am just excited about this. We are coming to an end. I got a little bit of surprise for you just before we go. We're going to bring some music back. We're going to bring the ensemble back. We're going to bring Josephine back, and I said, I just need you to light it up. But we had a great morning program. We had volunteers. We have such a faithful, growing number of volunteers. And they just won't let me stop. And so if you want to be one of those, in the lobby, by the diversity, equity, and inclusion table out there, there's a list. And if you want to stay connected with us, if you want to volunteer, if you want to be a part in any way, put your name on that list, and Arwen will send you something. And we will hook you up like we have been hooking up so many other volunteers. I'm just humbled by their commitment and their passion, and I'm humbled by the commitment that you have made and the passion that's in your heart to be here tonight. Thank you for that. It's your turn.
Well, first I want to say that I'm going to go off script just for a minute, and I want to acknowledge Donnie in his work, in his passion, and for motivating us when we've all had challenges through this time and have questioned, what more can we do? So Donnie, you are an inspiration. Okay, and now for the engagement part. Before you leave tonight, if you would like to stay connected with LEVL throughout the year with our ongoing activities, Spend some time in the lobby and leave your name and email or other contact information at the community diversity table in the lobby. I think Donnie already mentioned that. You'll find representatives from Linwood, Edmonds, Shoreline Diversity, Inclusion, and Equity teams. And say hello to the new Edmonds Police Community Engagement Coordinator, Tabitha Shoemake, while you are out there as well. Turn the page. And speaking of the lobby, you'll find lots of ways to check in, be heard, and be involved. Be sure to stop by the Edmonds Bookshop. They will be selling diversity-related children's books for your personal library, or the option of donating a book to the local school library. If you enjoyed our musical presentation tonight, please support them. There's a new owner, and she's wonderful. Her name is Michelle, and thank you.
In my off script, I forgot a part in here that I do every year in person, and that is to acknowledge our elected officials who made it a choice to be here tonight, and I want to make it a choice of ours to see who they are and recognize. So if you are an elected official, if you are able, would you please stand? Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Now, I also acknowledge another group of people, and those are the people who vote. If you voted in the last 2 or 3 elections, can you just make a sound? All right, it's time for our curtain call, and I've asked the choir, I've asked Josephine, I've asked the band to just light it up for us a little bit. Would you just welcome them back for one last time?
All right, y'all been quiet enough. Come on, get up. No, for real, come on, get up. We're gonna do some hand clapping, foot stomping, singing, and y'all ready?